What is up, guys? It is the Bluebloods here, and we are kicking off our Week 7 previews this week with the game of the week. So, as y'all know here on the Bluebloods, especially if you're subscribed, that means y'all need to comment below your score predictions, your predicted winner. If you predict the correct team and the exact score of the game this weekend, you will win our $50 Venmo giveaway. So, make sure to subscribe to the channel, like the video, and comment your score prediction at the end of the video. But we have a huge top 12 SEC matchup down in Athens. College game day returns as the number 11 Kentucky Wildcats head down to Athens to take on the newly crowned number one ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And as you know, this is a top 11 matchup, but the Bulldogs are a 23.5 point favorite right now as this game kicks off at 2:30 p.m. Central Time live on CBS. That'll be 3:30 Eastern Time if you're over in Athens. Now, this plays such a big role in who could come out of the SEC East. Florida has two SEC losses already, and you're looking at the Missouris, the Tennessees. None of those guys really look like any contenders. So it's really come down to these two undefeated teams. So the winner takes a commanding lead over the rest of the SEC East, where they'll have to lose 2-3 games for anyone else really jump above them in the standings. So that's probably the biggest storyline. But you look at the Bulldogs, they come into this matchup, the newly ranked number one team. Kirby Smart downplayed it, said it's just a number, and they're coming off their third top 20 win over Auburn and Jordan Hare last weekend. And now the Bulldogs have their sights set on a fourth top 20 win this season. And for me, it will further establish the Bulldogs is the best team in the country, and they're going to take control of the SEC in dominant fashion if they can get another, huge win. They have dominated every team they faced, outside of Clemson in week one, and that really was a domination on the defensive side of the ball. And so for me, Georgia's looking to continue to make a statement, and many people have them tapped as the favorites to win a national championship this year. Now, on the flip side, the Wildcats come into this game 6-0, find themselves on the cusp of another top 10 run under Mark Stoops, one of my favorite coaches in the country. And, a lot of people are looking at this matchup as the real litmus test for this Wildcat squad. They have the outstanding defense, they have the run game that's been a staple under Stoops in Lexington. They're looking for their second top 10 win of the season, and this could be a program changing win for Kentucky. Where if they get this win, you're talking about them possibly jumping all the way up into the top five with a big win in Athens as 23.5 point underdogs. They would arguably have the best win in the country of any team in that race for the college football playoff right now. And you look at the history of the series, Georgia's dominated. They held 60 wins to Kentucky's 12 in this series. They're on an 11-game winning streak, and the Wildcats have only won two games since 1997, but their last win came in Athens in 2009 when they upset the Bulldogs. So that shows that anything can happen this weekend. But I want to get into the keys of the game for each of these teams. Now, we'll start out with the number one ranked Georgia Bulldogs. And their key is to match that rushing output they had a few weeks ago against Arkansas. Grind out a little more efficient day than they had against Auburn this weekend, but they have to match this physical UK rushing attack, and they have to turn this game into a slugfest because they should have the advantage in terms of size, physicality, everything like that. And so what you want to do is control the ball, keep your defense off the field, and just wear down this Kentucky defense just like you did against Auburn and just like you did against Arkansas these past 2 weeks in your other top 20 wins. Now, they should have the line of scrimmage advantage, but looking back to last week, the Bulldogs stuck with the run. They grinded out a solid game against the Tigers, but I expect to see the Bulldogs lean early and often, on the run against the Wildcats this weekend. They're averaging almost 200 yards on the ground per game, over 2 touchdowns per game averaging on the ground for this season. And it all starts with Zamir White, 350 on the ground, 6 rushing touchdowns, and over 5 yards per carry. Milton's doing his thing, 210 a rushing touchdown, and James Cook has been the most explosive option with 245 over 6 yards per carry and 2 rushing touchdowns. The guy that we don't know about, Kenny McIntosh, saw limited action on special teams last week. Kirby Smart said he's kind of battling at some hamstring tightness, possibly a hamstring injury. So he could be held out to avoid injury, but we might see him if he's absolutely needed. But expect a heavy dose of Milton, Cook, and Zamir White in the backfield for the Bulldogs this weekend. And looking at the rushing attack, they've shown a solid ability to rush off the edge of this offensive line, off tackle, outside the tight end spot. And teams have failed to really establish themselves in setting the edge and finding ways to win that one-on-one battle on the outside of the line of scrimmage. Rushing off the edge, the Bulldogs rushed for over 600 yards, over 6 yards per carry, 5 touchdowns, over 35 first downs, and 19 runs over 10 or more yards over their first 6 games. They found a bit more success in the A gap as well, but their weakness for some reason has been running behind the guards in that B gap with less than 3 yards per carry. So the Wildcats have to try to funnel this rushing attack in the inside because that's where they're going to have the best shot to slow down this Georgia rushing attack. But if Georgia's able to seal the edge and get outside and let their athletes go make plays in space, it could be a long day for this Wildcats defense. And that's exactly what Georgia wants to do, is establish their will and control the time of possession and just grind out another dominant win. It doesn't have to be spectacular. They don't have to put up, 500-600 yards of total offense. They're going to run the ball. They're going to outman you. They're going to play more physical than you, and they're going to get out with the W. And it has just been a recipe for success for the Bulldogs all season long. Now, Kirby Smart said today, JT Daniels has improved week after week, and he's in a really great spot, but he would not entertain any questions about hypotheticals on who would start between Daniels and Stetson Bennett. But if I had to guess right now, we record our previews pretty early, so a lot can happen between, Tuesday, when this drops, and Saturday when this game kicks off. But I'm assuming that the Bulldogs are going to want to save Daniels if they can. They probably want him to be as healthy as possible before they bring him back so they can have him for the stretch run late in the season. Bennett's been playing well, so why not let Bennett take the first snaps and just keep Daniels as an emergency option? Let him become, extremely healthy for when you have to get into those SEC championship games, the college football playoff games, things like that. So I would expect Stetson Bennett right now on Tuesday to probably get the start for the Bulldogs this weekend. And I don't think many people understand or have given enough credit to how well Stetson Bennett has played this season. Really and truly, he was the star of in that Auburn game in Jordan-Hare. And when the run game at times was a little bit lackluster, he stepped up and made plays not only with his legs, but downfield through the air. For the season, completing just under 70% of his passes, over 700 yards. He's averaging 12 yards a pass, 8 touchdowns, 2 picks, and has almost a 90 PFF offensive grade, which is one of the better ones in the country. Now, an underrated aspect of his game has been the deep ball. He has been so efficient throwing the ball down the field, over a 92 passing grade on passes 20 plus yards down the field, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, and he's completing them at a 66% clip. That is so efficient for deep downfield passes where a lot can happen. Just a slight overthrow can really affect the timing, and he has just been on point, over 33 yards per attempt, man. That shows that he is ready to take the top off of any defense if they load the box and he gets a favorable one-on-one matchup on the outside. That is something that to watch all game long. If Kentucky cannot get pressure on Bennett and speed him up, he's going to take advantage of a loaded box every single time, and he's going to go make plays down the field as you load the box to try to stop the run. Kentucky's defense has to play physical. They have to play smart, and they cannot allow explosive chunk plays because when Georgia – and they're already great at just driving the ball bit by bit down the field. If you also allow them to put points on the board with explosive plays, they're going to put a lot of points up very quickly, and things could get out of hand because it's very hard to try to respond against this Georgia defense. The lower scoring this game is, the better it is for Kentucky. But once Georgia gets up over 20 points, it's going to be a tough climb and it's going to be a damn near impossible task against this Georgia team. Now, the key for the Wildcats, man, it's obvious. The rushing attack is the staple of this team, and the Wildcats are going to have to run the ball because Levis has not shown that he can carry this offense without the help of the rushing attack. And everything in this offense is built off of a strong rushing attack. The problem is, Coach O last week said he was shocked at how well Kentucky ran the ball, which was just outrageous to me because everyone coming in knew Kentucky was running the ball. I don't think Kirby Smart's going to be as surprised as Coach O was last week that Kentucky's going to try to run the ball. And it's so much easier said than done to run the ball in this Georgia team, only allowing 66 yards per game on the ground. So much easier said than done, but the Wildcats have a top 25 rushing attack in the country, averaging over 200 yards per game on the ground. And it starts with Chris Rodriguez, who's a top 5 rusher in the country right now. And the Wildcats are going to have to do the impossible and try to impose their will on this game. They're going to have to control the time of possession, keep themselves in third and manageable, and get that box loaded where Levis can take some shots in that secondary. But man, Georgia has done such a great job of stopping that. They're only allowing 2 yards per rush this season. So something has to give. Like I said, the rushing game, Rodriguez over 760 yards rushing, over 6.5 yards per carry, 6 rushing touchdowns. Kowalski smoked 253 over 5 yards per carry and a touchdown. Those guys are going to have to be spectacular and have one of their best games of the season if the Wildcats expect to pull this one off. Now, Levis is going to have to be dynamic with his legs as well. That's something that Jefferson and Bo Nix last week really failed to do over the past 2 games. He has 3 touchdowns with almost 200 yards rushing, averaging over 4 yards per carry. When things break down, he's going to have to turn those potential big losses into small gains and or live to see another down. And the number one thing, he cannot turn the ball over. You have to protect the ball if you're Will Levis, and you cannot give this Georgia defense or just Georgia offense, great field position and extra possessions, because what's going to happen, that's the quickest way to get your defense worn down, and Georgia's going to run away with this one. But the Wildcats can't get away from their game plan. It is going to be difficult to run the ball. I understand that, but you have to try to do it. Auburn and Arkansas are run-first teams, and they both ran the ball less than 30 times against the Bulldogs, which is far below the average for both of these teams. Kentucky cannot fall prey to the same pitfalls that those 2 teams. You have to learn from the mistakes, and you have to run the football and try to establish your game plan. You can't just say, okay, we can't run it early, so now we're just going to get rid of it and we're going to throw it all on Levis, because that's the quickest way to get run out of Athens, just like Arkansas did. Now, Levis is going to have to do his part, like I said. Jefferson and Nix failed to carry their team, but the number one thing, no turnovers, and he's got to have to make some tough throws this game. I can't imagine there's going to be a lot of wide open, high percentage throws. So Levis is going to have to step up and show that he's developed over these first 6 games of the season, completing over 64% of his passes, over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 6 picks. He's really struggled under pressure, though, man. And that's the thing that worries me this weekend is under pressure, he has to make controlled and good decisions with the football, even when he's uncomfortable. His completion percentage drops to under 41%, only 121 yards for a 4.2 yards per completion average and 1 pick, with a 56.4 passing grade when under pressure. That has to improve because Georgia's going to get pressure. It's just, can you turn those plays where they get pressure into something? And he cannot choke when he's under pressure. Now, the best part of Levis's game, which is why I think Kentucky could be an interesting matchup, is his ability to counter the blitz. When blitz, he's thrown for over 400 yards, over 10 yards per completion, 4 touchdowns, and no picks. When a team blitzes against this Wildcats offense, Levis has delivered. That could be something interesting to watch against this extremely, extremely aggressive Bulldogs defense. Can Levis make the plays against the blitz like he has all season long? That's going to be something to watch this weekend. Now, the X factor, and I told y'all last week, every time I cover Kentucky, the X factor is going to be Wan'Dale Robinson. He is the epitome of lightning in a bottle and probably is the most athletic, dynamic playmaker that I think this Georgia defense has seen all year. No disrespect to Tank Bigsby or anyone Clemson has, but this guy is electric. And putting him in space and allowing him to make plays in the open field could cause some problems for the Georgia defense if he gets some opportunities. He has over 500 yards receiving, 4 receiving touchdowns, and he's averaging almost 20 yards per carry on his limited attempts. And I really would like to see the Wildcats use him more on kickoff return. He's already the punt returner, but the more touches you can give this guy in open space, the better things can happen. You know Georgia has had special teams touchdowns this season. Why not put your best playmaker back there and hope to see if he can make some plays happen with punt return or kick return this year? I mean, in this game, and you've seen it spark so many epic games. Notre Dame used the kickoff return to spark their huge win over Wisconsin. A&M had a big kick return against Bama to spark that win. If you're Kentucky, you want to put your playmakers in the best position to help you win the games. Giving Wan'Dale Robinson as many touches as possible is the key to this. Now, the matchup's obvious. Georgia's defensive line against Kentucky's offensive line is going to be the matchup to watch. Really, Georgia's front seven against this Kentucky offensive line. Georgia has this has been the key to Georgia all year. They have dominated the line of scrimmage, shut down offense after offense through the 2021 season, and really made teams just get off rhythm, feel uncomfortable, and that's why no one's been able to produce on this Georgia defense. Now, let's give this Kentucky offensive line a bit of credit. They have been the catalyst for one of the most consistent rushing attacks in the country and have protected Levis extremely well this season. Only 4 sacks allowed, 7 total QB hits allowed this season, while paving the way from a top 25 rushing attack at almost 214 yards per game. Almost six yards per carry this season, and 2 touchdowns per game on the ground. You look at the trio that's on this offensive line that I think are going to be playing on Sundays very soon. Darian Kennard at tackle, Luke Fortner at guard, and Dare Rosenthal at the offensive tackle, the LSU transfer, are the big three on this offensive line. You look at Kennard, one of the highest graded O linemen in the country, over a 90 just overall blocking grade, and has an 85 or higher run blocking and pass blocking grade this season, and has only allowed 2 pressures all season. He's going to have to be a force on the edge and try to protect Levis and pave a way for this rushing attack. Now, Fortner and Rosenthal have only allowed 1 sack combined and only 5 total QB hurries this season, while both having major SEC experience, so they should be up for the task this weekend. The offensive line has to establish some sort of consistency this weekend. They cannot get pushed off the ball, and they have to try to control this Georgia defensive front as best as they can and give Chris Rodriguez and those playmakers some room to go make plays, and also let Levis settle into the game. The crowd's going to be loud. The crowd's going to be crazy. They have to limit false starts and put Arkansas behind the chains too many times. So they're going to have to show their maturity and probably have their best game of the season. Now, I don't think there's been a more impressive front seven in the country than what the Bulldogs have brought this season. They've consistently caused chaos for opposing offensive lines, and they've consistently made play after play. I was looking for stats. So Pro Football Focus lists the Bulldogs with 29 sacks for the season. NCAA and ESPN have them with 22 at number 7 in the country. If you use PFF's 29 sacks, the Bulldogs are number 1 in the country in total sacks, and they've generated over 61 pressures in their first few games. So that's the elite production that you see out of this Georgia front seven. Nakobe Dean at linebacker, that's where it starts. He's the highest graded pass rusher on this team, one of the highest graded coverage guys as well. He's second on the team in total tackles, has 5 sacks according to PFF. That leads the team this year, while Adam Anderson has been a force off the edge with 4 sacks of his own. In my opinion, Dean's been the best defensive player in college football this year. He's so athletic. His speed from sideline to sideline has really brought a whole new level to this Georgia defense. I think he's even better right now than what Roquan Smith was in the 2017 season, and he's been the ultimate leader for this Georgia defense. Now, You can't forget Trayvon Walker, Jordan Davis, Jalen Carter, Devontae Wyatt. All these guys have played huge roles on this defense and how they've been able to dominate this season. Jordan Davis is a freak of nature at his size to be able to move like he has. He caused havoc not all day long against Arkansas. So look out for him on the inside of this defensive line. The Bulldogs, they use this sort of physicality that many O-line don't know how to handle. And they don't have the ability to handle the physicality that some of these players bring. And when you combine that with some of the elite athleticism they have on the edge and at linebacker, it's a recipe for an all-time great defense in Athens. The Bulldogs don't have to do anything special, man. They just have to defend the run and get after Levis, which they've done all season long. So all they have to do is mimic what they've done over the first 6 weeks of the season, and the Bulldogs should be able to escape with the win. Now, official predictions, man. This one was tough. I love Stoops so much, and I root for this Kentucky team as much as I can just because I think it's a great story. I like Mark Stoops, and I think for a program that gets a bad rap for being a basketball only school, they've had a lot of success under Stoops, and it's about time they break through. But I've been vocal since week one. I think Georgia right now, since really week two, after that Clemson win, going into week two, I've said Georgia's probably the best team in the country. They are still the best team in the country. And like I said on our week 6 recap, they are the number one team in the country by a significant margin. And right now, I just don't see a way Kentucky wins in Athens. If this game was in Lexington, I think it could be completely different. They probably have a much better shot. But in Athens, with all the hype this Georgia program has, with some players coming back at certain positions pretty healthy this weekend, and Georgia's been very optimistic about getting some of those players who've been banged up back. I just think Georgia has too much on the defensive front seven for Kentucky to establish that run game. I think Levis makes one or two mistakes that really gets this game out of hand. But I do think Kentucky scores. I think it's Georgia this weekend, 38, Kentucky 13 in Athens this weekend in a huge SEC East matchup. So I got the Bulldogs winning fairly big. I think it could be close early. I just think they pull away down the stretch because they just have too much talent right now. Bennett makes a few throws. They lean on the run game, and it's just one of those physical dominating wins again. And Georgia continues their march to Atlanta to get that SEC title under Kirby Smart and potentially their first national title since 1980, man. So I got the Bulldogs 38, the Wildcats 13. Guys, if you're new, hit that subscribe button. Like the video now. This should be an amazing game. It's our game of the week. So comment your score predictions below. If you get the team and the exact score, you win our $50 Venmo giveaway. So make sure to subscribe and comment below to enter that giveaway. I appreciate y'all tuning in. We'll be back with another preview this afternoon and a bunch of previews later this week. So make sure to stay tuned for that. But guys, for right now, the Blue Bloods are out.